I'm Cecilia Cabay, native of Detroit, and went to school all the way up to high school in Detroit. And I left for the Army in December in 43. Headed for Camp McCoy with the Navy Nurse Corps. And we had our indoctrination there in the cold and everything, and then we left for Fort Sam Houston to be ready for overseas duty. And from there we went up to Fort Dix, I think, yeah, and waited to get on the Queen Mary for Europe. And we were only about triple bound on the ship. We were overload, and the Queen Mary got to Firth of Clyde, and she zigzagged all the way every 7 minutes to get to the English Channel. And there we got on the train heading for France, and we landed on Normandy Beach. I think about September or so, and we bivouacked there. And then we worked in teams of 1 doctor, 1 nurse, 2 corpsmen, and the surgical teams had more folks on their team, and we went on a duty to the various platoons of the field hospital. Some went to the VAC hospital and some to the general. And we kept going, and finally some of our teams followed Patton, George Patton, and we just followed him till after the Battle of the Bulge. And after that, we went to Holland, and I don't remember the number of the army we were with. And finally, VE Day, we got to Berlin, and that was the end of the war. I worked for a surgeon and a few other things, and finally went back in the Navy for 20 years.
Really?
Yeah, from 20 years. I know I retired in July of 79. Those were the most enjoyable duty for me, to take care of those men. And it was the greatest generation that was up, in the field.
Well, James Arthur Nichols, Nichols. I don't have the L beat out of it. It's in there, just after a separate L. But yeah, I lived in Detroit. Well, in 1942, of course, there was no doubt war, so you go down and enlist. So ahead of time, I had done a little thinking. I had never flown, but I decided I'll take a flight or 2 in a small aircraft, see how it goes. And so I decided, okay, I'm going down and sign up, and I'll go for the aviation cadet. So they called me and went down to Ohio, just across the border, started flying Taylorcraft, Piper Cub, so forth, got a lot of small aircraft experience. Did that, and that went well, I was suited to it. Then After that, went through some ground school and so forth. Iowa City, Sayonara, had very similar experience, and a number of other bases. Got to Corpus Christi to get flight training, and had a lot of ground school ahead of time, but then got flight training for the first time at Corpus Christi. And I knew I was not a real rapid, fast young man, so I opted for bigger aircraft. And so I went into training in PBYs. Then after passing that okay, then went to Florida, and in a while got into PBMs, a big seaplane, and then experience there and so forth. Eventually went cross country and went over to the Philippines, and I was now in the Martin PBM, same as I here, flying twin-engine seaplane. We landed on water, took off from water, and I enjoyed it. It worked out pretty fine, but usually we were looking for submarines. Never did see a submarine, but one day we got a call to go over and take a peek at that Japanese airfield and see what it looked like. About the time we got there, my God, there was a squadron, a big squadron high in the air over there, and I thought, I was in the pilot seat there, and I thought, my God, I hope there are people. And they started their dive. Well, thank God they were our people. They came in and shot up the airfield pretty good and had a ball. Then after they left, then it was our turn. We were supposedly looking for submarines, but they had said, go take a look at that little island. So we flew over there. And in our PBM, not very speedy, 140, 30 miles per hour or something like that. So we had a ball. Everybody that could get on a 50 caliber machine gun got on there. We went down the runway back and forth with all these Japanese airplanes. We shot the devil out of as many as we could. So we had a ball. I talked to Adolf here, he was in the German army. I asked Adolf, I said, you know, when we got out after the war, we got all kinds of GI Bills and things. Did you get anything? He said, zilch, nothing. From Germany, they got no benefits at all for that.
And I think we're here to celebrate the people that live here 99% of the time and enjoy every second, every minute. So I will say that I enjoy very much being here as your veteran, and hope that you will have a kind word for me in the later part of the meeting.
I'm 19 years old, and I served in the Navy, but I did a lot of diving in underwater and see what they would pull out of their eggs.
The diver is alone under the water. He has only his common sense, his technical knowledge, and his diver's dress to help him.
Eggs, because we were basically at war, you know, just like all these tied up things together, and that was fun because of the age that we all were at any rate.
Barbara Talbot, I think. think was my maiden name. Talbot was my married name. And I went in the Navy and Lend-Lease, and I worked in the Bureau of Ships, and there's where I was the whole war. And so I got out.
When did you enlist?
January, February of 44. I was in the Navy.
And where were you stationed?
In Washington, stationed in the Bureau of Ships.
I see.
The whole time. And spent the whole time, morning, noon, and night. I left in August of 44, 45.
After the war.
Yeah, after the war. Just after the war.
And what did you do after that?
I got married and I went to Detroit, Michigan. And after that, and we lived there. That's where we lived for a long time.
My name is Cy Komanecki. I was in the Navy. And like Art, I was a PBM pilot, patrol squadrons. VPB, well, they changed it to bombers too, so we got in some of the action. Well, I had to wait until I was 21 because my dad wouldn't sign any papers, so I had to wait until I was 21. I was went to the Federal Building and walked past the Army recruiting outfit, and they wanted some letters of recommendation. I said, well, I don't have any. And as I walked out, there was a big sign that said Naval Aviation Selection Board. So I stopped in. I said, I don't have any recommendations, but letters of recommendation. Gonna get the test. Sure. Which one? So I went in, took the test. But before the day was over, I was signed in.
What year was that?
42. Same place that he went to. Went to the University of Iowa. Went to all the training bases, elimination bases, Kansas City, Olathe, Kansas, Corpus Christi, and Ottumwa, Iowa. I didn't know it, but Richard Nixon was an officer there, but he wasn't there when I was there. So that was long gone before he ever got there. The operational training in various places, Key West, Florida. We formed a squadron in Harvey Point, North Carolina, and got our planes and deployed and went out to the West Coast. And then from there, we went on over to Hawaii and all the way across over to Eniwetok, Kwajalein, Eniwetok, Johnson Island, Saipan, Ulysses, all the Philippines, all the way over to the coast, on the China coast over there. Just like Art, we used to patrol that every night.
Wow.
I was in Squadron 17, he was in 25, so that was about every 2 weeks. You figured out about 2 or 3 months behind us.
And what year did you leave the Navy?
Oh, I went in 45, and then I went back into the Korean War.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Navy, yeah.
Yeah, through transport.
Gotcha.
Had to work on defend the Waikiki Beach. I had to take care of it, nobody was there.
Well, I was young once.
You were?
Yeah, I was.
You were?
Honest.
Good.
And I enlisted in the Army Air Force. There was no Air Force in 1942 and 3. The Air Force wasn't born until about 1949, after the war. At that time, it was the United States Army Air Corps. And I enlisted. I felt very gung-ho, like a lot of guys did. And I enlisted when I was 17. And the week after I was 18 years old, I was in Miami, Florida at the Aviation Cadet Center. And I spent a couple of weeks there. And then I went to the University of Missouri as an aviation student for 5 months. And we learned to fly the Piper Cub. It was a lot of fun. And then from there, we went to the classification center at San Antonio, Texas, which is a giant center for young people in the Air Force to be classified according to what they want to be: navigators, bombardiers, and pilots. And so I qualified down there for all three, and I selected to go in the spring of 1944. Yeah.
Jeez.
And there was thousands of young men who wanted to fly, and they had been qualified and elected to go to the various schools, and they said if you wanted to go be in the active Air Force, Air Corps at that time, don't apply for a pilot. Apply for navigation or bombardier. So I elected to be a bombardier, and I went to San Angelo, Texas, to the advanced bombardier and navigation school. And I graduated from there, and from there I went to Alamogordo first, where we learned to fly together as a crew, 11 men, and I finished that school. And I went to Lincoln, Nebraska, and we were assigned a new airplane, and I went overseas with a crew of 11 guys that I was going to spend the next months with until the war was over. We flew to California, Mather Field at Sacramento, and to Hawaii, Kwajalein, and to Guam. Guam was my home base. And I flew over as a replacement crew. We started flying bombing missions right away. Most of them were the fire bombing missions, napalm, at night. I lived through 26 missions to Japan and back.
You did?
Wow.
And the war was over, and a lot of us said, thank you for the A-bomb. The A-bomb brought us all a pass home. And I got mustered out of the service in January of '46. And that was the end of my military career. And I'm the only person in the nose of our airplane who didn't get a Purple Heart. Isn't that good?
Yes.
I flew with 11 men who I revere. They were beautiful guys. We hung together as a crew on every mission. I've only found one man alive in Austin, Texas. So that's the story of my military career.
What did you do?
Nothing.
Where were you?
Germany. Now we used to shoot these big guns. About 25 miles to start with.
Yeah.
The Germans came out with these guns in 1898. And we just kind of revamped them and made them a little different.
Oh, yeah.
The howitzers, they call it the howitzer?
Oh, no. This is like a railroad gun. The damn thing was about
Oh, wow.
50 or 75 feet long.
Wow.
And yeah, I would shoot. We used to practice fire at 25 miles. And you know how close to the target we would get? Sometimes right on top.
No, really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Do that. There were 22 things we had to go through before we could fire, before we could pull the string.
Gotcha.
Then they came out with some other, what you call it, projectiles with little wings on them. And they would go another 25 miles. So yeah, we could hit something 50 miles away.
How could you even see them?
Or you couldn't see them. You'd have to have a forward observer
Yeah.
to let you know how close to the target you came. Sometimes the target disappeared.
At that time, did you have electronic surveillance where the missile itself could search the area and hone in on it?
Well, we had to have a lot of preparation. We had to make sure that we could fire over anything and everything that was between us and the target. And anyway, it was interesting.
And they'd come in.
And they told us if we ever got in a war with the Russians, that we had about 13 minutes to live. And by the time we fired the gun, the Russians would pick up the shell coming, and they would return fire, and they'd wipe us out in 13 minutes. We never had that problem though. After the war was over. The Korean War.
Korean War, okay.
What?
Tell them about Zukov.
Better let him step.
Oh, go.
Yeah, Zukov was a character, and he was a hero of Leningrad and Moscow and Stalingrad. And anyway, I got to know him, and through accidentally, and so we talked. He had two translators, and he didn't trust one. He had to have two. You can understand that. Very untrustworthy people. And he let us know that if the Russians were really going to start a war, he would let us know. And that would be a certain kind of music or something on the radio. And as long as we didn't hear that, everything was going to be quiet.
I think that was one of the problems, though. You never knew when something was going to be thrown at you by them.
Oh no, yeah, we didn't, they had some bad characters over there.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Zukov was a real good guy though. He used to like to get up in the morning and ride a horse about 20 miles and come back and take a big shot. Rotating bands were brass, and they were eroding the inside of the muzzle of the gun too much, so they came out with Teflon rotating bands. And we could always tell if the shell was going to go good because of the sound that the rotating band made. Of course, the Teflon rotating bands didn't make any noise at all.
It just went farther.
What's that?
They just went farther?
Oh yeah, they went farther.